What's up YouTube? So in this video we are reviewing a tool that we use an awful lot, and that is here the Dewalt Drywall Gun. We've been asked about it several times. What do we think? Why did we go for it? Etc. so forth. So in this video we will be discussing that. So firstly, what do we think about it? Do we like it? Do we not? Yes, we absolutely love it. It's not the first drywall gun that we've had. We've had several in the past. Why did we settle on this one? Well, to be honest with you, initially the main reason being is because we had an awful lot of Dewalt tools already, so it was just a case of adding another one to the collection. But before we bought it, we were actually using the Festal drywall gun. It's very good. Before that, we've used the Makita and the Hilti one as well. But why have we stuck with this one? Well, to be perfectly honest, one of the major things is for the money, they are exceptionally good. I think when I bought this one, which was about 3 to 4 years ago, we paid around about £280, something like that. And that came with the collated attachment. It also came with the cone attachment, which enables you to run singles. It also came with 2 batteries as well as a charger, all for around £280. Whereas I think when we bought the Festal one, it was around £450 to £500. I forget what it is now. And when you think the Hilti one is between £600 and £700, it is a bit of a no-brainer. But with regards to the actual features of the gun itself, as you can see, it has a quick release collated attachment to it, which goes all the way up to 55 millimeters, and then obviously has the long drill bit for it. These are amazing. Like I say, we've had these for about 3 or 4 years. I think it comes with 2 of these, and literally this week I've only just bought replacements, and it wasn't because they'd worn out, it's because I lost the last one of these bits that I had. But these last absolutely yonks, so we can thoroughly recommend. The bits for them are brilliant. Even if you have a different gun, they seem to last forever. Batteries, like most drywall guns, are very good. Probably not as good as the Festal, if I'm honest with you, but the gun is probably good for about 1500 screws, something like that. So it lasts an awful long time. I think with the Festal one we were getting around 4000 screws out of one battery, so it lasted an awful lot longer. The other thing which was very useful, as we've mentioned already, is that it has the cone attachment for it. Now the way it works is that you need to switch out the long bit, and then it comes with a bit holder. You need to keep hold of this because this is actually slightly longer than a standard size bit holder, so don't lose that because it's a pain if you do. I don't know how easy it is to get another one, but that just goes straight in, and then this locks in place, and then you can just fine adjust the depth on it. But you would use one of these for running singles. So this is what you would consider a collated set of screws. And then obviously singles are when you just get them in the box. So they do work very well. We'll demonstrate both in a moment. Why would you consider buying one of these? Well, if you do any amount of plasterboarding or dry lining, so if you're a professional plasterer, you cannot help but do plasterboarding, whether it be overboarding ceilings, which we do an awful lot of in the United Kingdom, or in here we are dry lining a loft conversion for a local company in Brighton, the RA Group. So when you're doing an awful lot of boarding, it's useful to have a drywall gun. But why collated over singles? Well, the reality is, I'm not sure whether people don't realise or not, but collated screws are actually cheaper than the singles. For us to buy a box of 1000 35mm screws costs less than £10. In our local merchants, it costs more than that. So why would we want to buy the singles? That makes no sense whatsoever. Certainly if you buy them from plastering wholesalers online, they are much cheaper It is so much faster to do boarding. It's an awful lot easier. Probably 95% of the time it sinks the screws in perfectly. Certainly when you're boarding a ceiling on your own, it makes life an awful lot easier. So for us, I have no idea why somebody wouldn't want to use collated screws over singles. But let's have a little look at the drywall gun being used. We've just tacked up that board there, so what we'll do is just sink a couple of screws in there so you can just see how effective it is using a drywall gun over a standard drill and punching singles in. So when it comes to using the collated gun, just on the Dewalt, they're much the same as all the others. Basically, you have to feed the screws into I don't even know what you call this thing, but the idea is this stops the screws bunching up and getting caught in each other, so you really do need to feed that in. It's very, very standard across the Hilti, the Makita, the Festool, etc. And then all you do is you just feed it up through the nozzle, and then you want to do is you want to stop the screw one short of where the actual bit actually is. And the reason being is what happens is as the nozzle gets pushed in, it sends the screw into place. So if you put the screw directly above where the bit is, it will miss that first screw. It's incredibly annoying. Well, if you do that over thousands and thousands of boxes, you're throwing away screws for no reason. So one short. So that's how you load it. Now I'll show you the gun being used. So to see the gun being used, now we can see I've just tacked these in. Now this is set to pinch just below the paper line. So if you just run it, you can see there that's what, 8 to 10 screws. And then if we were to have a look nice and close at the screws, they are perfectly fitted. So as you can see, if you did that over thousands and thousands of screws, how much faster that is. Now let's have a look at using the singles. Okay, so when it comes to the cone attachment, all you need to do on the Dewalt one is just pull the two triggers in here, and that just pulls off. So just pull them out. The trigger, push in, pull off. And then in like so, and then it just locks in place, and then it sets the, you've got the adjuster here just to set the screw head to where you want it. Really? So when it comes now to using the singles, the easiest thing to do is just to leave the trigger on, and then this takes a bit of practice. Like I say, I don't use the singles very often, so I'm not very good at it. And then you just offer the screw up to the paper and then just force it in nice and quick. So So as you can see, just within a few seconds, although I may have missed the stud, my bad. Even with the depth, so the depth set is absolutely fine. And you can see within in a little bit longer time, it still fires those in very, very fast. And the reality is, the thing that takes the longest is actually lining those screws up to put them into the drill and then pushing them in. So it's a very, very effective way of thumping screws in. It's much, much faster than using something like a combi drill. So in our opinion, well worth the money. So one last thing that I forgot to mention with regards to the drywall gun, and that is that on the collated attachment, I do apologise for the noise in the background, the collated gun has 360 degree adjustment on it. Why is that very useful? Because you'll be surprised at how often you use a drywall gun in awkward, annoying positions where you can just adjust the collated gun to get it in a much better position. So just a little feature that's just worth mentioning. So all in all, what do we think about the gun? Well, if you are even remotely serious about plasterboarding, if you do any amount of it, it is well worth the money. It will save you so much time. Just in that very brief time that we spent just firing in 8 to 10 screws with the collated gun, you could see how much faster it was. Even how much faster it was using the cone attachment on the drywall gun. So you can imagine how much quicker it would be using a combi drill. Please make as much noise as you can, Reese. Somebody just get it done while I drink my tea.
You better be trying out. Well, you got to seem like you're actually on a building site and not in a studio.
What a pain in the ass. So when it comes to the drywall gun, what are our final thoughts? Would we recommend it? Well, yes, we would 100%. If you are even remotely serious about drywalling, if you do any amount of it, and like I say, if you're a professional plasterer, or maybe you are doing up your own house or a builder, etc., and you have to do boarding semi-regularly, it is so useful. Not only are the collated screws cheaper, you can put them in so much faster. It makes life a lot less stressful. And the reality is, I'm not sure what they are now. We paid 280, 300 quid, something like that, with 2 batteries. It was well worth the money. Do we think it's better than the Festa one or the Milwaukee or the Makita? To be perfectly honest with you, there's not an awful lot in it. A drywall gun is a drywall gun, just in the same way that most hammers, they are fairly equal. They bang nails in, you know, that is their job. You get more ones that are a little bit more flashy, that are a bit nicer, but at the end of the day, its job is to thump in screws and to do it quickly. For the money, it is well worth it. As I said, we've had the Festa one. Ironically, we actually sold it to the guy who's actually behind us in the shot there, Reese from the RA group. We sold it to him. He was a sucker. He didn't realise that I hated it at the time. But something like the Hilti gun, which is £600–700, they are incredible tools, but they aren't 3 times as good, and that's the reality of it. One thing I would say is nothing against the Makita at all, but we do find that the nose attachment on the Makita isn't as good. Half of the one of the things that's important to take into consideration with regards to nose attachment is how easy it is to do the maintenance. The Festal is really easy, and as is the Dewalt one. Like I say, I think we've had this one for about 3 or 4 years now. We have never had an issue with it to date. No reason to think that won't be the case moving forward. It is fortunate that we have an awful lot of Dewalt tools, so it does make a lot easier. Not because we necessarily think Dewalt are the best, but we do think their batteries are very, very good, and they have an excellent range. So we thoroughly recommend the tool. We thoroughly recommend getting a collated gun if it isn't Dewalt, but certainly for the money and the quality, we can't fault it. So we hope you found this video helpful. We do apologize for the annoying builders that are in the background that are heckling our video. Unfortunately, we work for our RA group a lot, so I think they just wanted to come and say hello. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy the content, consider giving a thumbs up and subscribing, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks again.